Hi, I'm Ronnie Screwvala. I'm a first-generation entrepreneur and co-founder and chairman of Upgrad. If I had to ask myself what's one of my mantras, it's what I would call staying the course, which means once you're in something and once you're an entrepreneur, you have to understand that you have to ride the roughs and the smooths. So the question is, what is your risk appetite? You can't become an entrepreneur or decide to start something and give yourself a chance and say, I'm going to give myself 2 years, I'm going to give myself 3 years. Are you in it? Are you going to stay the course? Please answer that question. A lot will get solved in your mind. One of the things to me that is most critical when you're looking at being an entrepreneur is communication skills. Now, for most people, you feel that's not something that is most important. I think 50% of every business as a leader that you're going to do is people are going to look to you to get inspired. People are going to look to you for many, many aspects. But most of all, how clear and communicative you can be. That doesn't mean you need to be the best speaker. It doesn't mean you have to have the best accent. If your best way to communicate is in a small group of people, of 2 people, do that. If your best way to communicate is in a large group, do that. If your best way to communicate is in 2 lines instead of 20 lines, do that. If your best way to communicate is to send a letter or a mail and not talk, because that's when you get your best thought out, do that. But communication skills in the 21st century is going to be one of the most important things for successful entrepreneurs and leaders. Keep that in mind. When I'm asked to address women entrepreneurs, I find it a little odd because an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. There should not be a gender difference. So I think my first most important communication to women entrepreneurs is don't look for a differentiation. You're not going to get any special privileges in life, nor should you be looking at it that way. I don't think anyone who's a woman entrepreneur should necessarily feel that they're either less or more. I've invested in companies, had co-founders that are women, in a room and in a boardroom with many people, and I never looked at this as a very differentiating comment. So I think the first part is your own self-confidence and your clarity. And if you look at your own self-confidence, neither is it your right, nor is it your obligation. Neither are you going to get the preference, nor is it going to be the other one. So that's a strong thought that I think is a DNA thing that needs to come up with everyone. When you should not feel entitled, nor should you feel in any way handicapped. One of the challenges is that most people today in entrepreneurship, when they're looking out, look at either what is the common trend. So my one advice would be, please don't follow and have a herd mentality, because most of the herd mentality means it's already a crowded space. India is about either a blue ocean business or a red ocean business. If you're in a blue ocean business, it's very, very tough because you're making a market. But on the flip side, you're being the first mover and you can make an influence, but it's much more tougher. Equally tough is the red ocean space, which is that there are many players, so you don't have to go out and establish a market, but you want to be one more with your own differentiator. There, the caution is 2 things. It's a very competitive market, and most important, India is a very price sensitive market. So whether you're doing a product or a service, if you're not hitting some sense of scale, and always being conscious of a price sensitiveness, there'll always be somebody who may either be more funded or may be more desperate about their business and will make certain evaluations that will make your business more competitive. So I think understand why you're picking the business. Is it because it's something, if it's too new, it's got its unique set of problems. And if it's too crowded a space or getting to be too crowded a space, it's got its own set of problems. So give that a thought. I think one of the differentiators, even though I started by saying you should not look at any entitlement, is the question of funding. I find most entrepreneurs today are always constantly looking at how to build their business models on 2 parts. One, they feel I can't start my business without some sense of funding, which I think is completely wrong. And I'm saying that because I started by saying I'm a first generation entrepreneur. And for the better part of 9 years of my business life, there was 0 funding. At that stage, there was no concept of venture capital, private equity, angels at all. Neither were nationalized banks ever giving any concept of loans. So what do? That's when the real organization gets built. So don't expect that I'm not going to be able to start that unless I get funding, is one. And on the flip side, you may find a fair amount of investors who will look at, I see, so you're a woman entrepreneur. So the context is, are you going to take a break in life? The context is it for the next 10 years or is it for the next 2 years? What happens for that 2-3 years where you feel you want to build a family? those are the shadows that come about, and I think that's the only part you need to be very clear and articulate about which stage in your life you're starting your business, because if you're looking for external shareholders and it's no longer your company, that's where it'll last. And lastly, all I would urge for India is, and I think most of you all are doing that, find a need and a purpose that you need to solve at scale. Find a need and let's do that. Let's not follow the herd that everything is about an app and everything is about the internet. There are so many businesses, and I know many of you all who are actually doing this are looking at businesses where there's a direct need for the lower class, for a mass. Everyone looks at the top of the pinnacle. I think there's this incredible amount of market in rural India and many other places. So find a good need, stay with that, and wish you all the best. And as always, I want to repeat, you're not privileged, neither are you in any way differentiated. You're an entrepreneur. Always look at it that way. Thank you.